A secret agreement hidden from the public for centuries. A pact so powerful it could change everything we know about history, world governments, and even extraterrestrial life. What if I told you that global superpowers, ancient civilizations, and unknown forces have been bound by the Eternal Treaty? A conspiracy whispered about in classified circles and dismissed by skeptics? Is this just a myth, or is there real evidence hidden in plain sight? Welcome to X-File Nexus. Today we're diving deep into the Eternal Treaty conspiracy theory, and what we uncover might just shake your reality. My name is Carl Richards, and I'm a data analyst, at least by day. But at night, I'm a conspiracy theorist. And I have just discovered something that will change the world 1 year from today. I know you may think that this is just another conspiracy, but I assure you that it is not. I have always been fascinated with the idea of conspiracies, but my obsession with conspiracies wasn't born of delusion. It was born out of a series of unsettling experiences, a slow unraveling of the narrative I'd been fed my entire life. It started with little things that didn't make sense, such as news reports that contradicted each other, or official explanations that felt incomplete. Then there were the stories, the whispers in online forums about unexplained phenomena, about government cover-ups, about things that went bump in the night. Like everyone else, I initially dismissed them as the ramblings of internet trolls. But the sheer volume of these whispers and the way they echoed each other across different platforms began to pique my interest. However, the event that solidified my path was the disappearance of my father. My father was a U.S. Air Force pilot who was selected by NASA for astronaut training. After his training, he worked with NASA for 5 years, until one day when he just disappeared. The official explanation was a training accident, a plane crash over the Pacific. But I never believed it. There was no wreckage, no body, just a neatly worded letter of condolence and a closed file. I grieved the loss of my father, but I never truly believed the official explanation. My grief led me to start digging. At first, I tried the legal route. I filed the Freedom of Information Act requests, contacted his former colleagues, and even tried to access his military records. But every door was slammed in my face. The official story was airtight, unassailable. But I knew deep down that something was wrong. I continued to search, and my search led me down a rabbit hole of classified documents, redacted reports, and hushed conversations. I discovered that my father had been involved in a top-secret project, something to do with atmospheric anomalies. The details were sketchy and heavily censored, but it was enough to ignite a spark of suspicion. I started to connect the dots. The inconsistencies in news reports, the whispers of unexplained phenomena, my father's disappearance, and the classified project all pointed to one single thing: extraterrestrial life. At first, I dismissed it. After all, there has not been found any proof of life in space. But the notion refused to leave my mind. It seemed to be the only thing that made sense. What if my father had stumbled onto something he wasn't supposed to see? What if his disappearance was connected to this hidden reality? My desire to find the truth about my father is what drove me into the world of conspiracies. As a data analyst, I approached every theory with skepticism, dissecting the evidence and analyzing the logic. Some of the theories were clearly nonsense. They were simply the product of overactive imaginations. But there were others that resonated with a chilling ring of truth. They ignited questions. I saw the patterns. The government's strange reluctance to answer basic questions about UFO sightings. The increased reports of unidentified aerial phenomena that weren't being investigated properly, not to mention the strange military operations that happened in isolated areas. All the signs pointed to something much bigger than what the mainstream news was willing to report. My search led me to the dark web, the shadowy realm of encrypted forums and anonymous message boards. It was here that I stumbled on the discovery that would change everything. One cool evening, I began my search on the web. I wasn't looking for anything specific. I was just letting my fingers wander through encrypted links, bouncing from forum to forum, looking for anything that would catch my attention when I found it. The post was short, but it was enough to catch my attention. It read, "The Eternal Treaty. It's real. Find the file. Trust no one." There was nothing else, no name, no handle, just a link. My instinct told me to leave it alone. It could have been a trap, some form of digital bait. But something inside me, the same curiosity that had kept me digging for years, compelled me to click. It took hours to trace the link to its source. The dark web is vast, a digital ocean where data moves like shadows. I could feel the risk in my gut, but when I saw the encrypted file waiting for me on the other end of the link, I felt my heart race. It wasn't the usual junk, no malware, no phishing attempt. It was clean. Using a secure browser and a double-layered VPN, I navigated the labyrinthine pathways of the dark web. It took me the better part of the night to crack the encryption, a complex dance of algorithms and decryption keys. Finally, the file opened. It was a document, official-looking and meticulously formatted, bearing the seal of the United States government. The title sent a shiver down my spine. The Eternal Treaty. I didn't hesitate. I downloaded it. The file opened like an ancient document, its format pristine, almost mechanical. It had all the hallmarks of a government document, bold, structured text, with official stamps I couldn't recognize. But what stood out wasn't the official tone. It was the content. The document revealed that the Eternal Treaty was a pact signed in 1947 between the leaders of Earth and extraterrestrial beings called the Zidonian Concord. Signed in the wake of World War II, the treaty was designed to keep the peace and regulate human contact with alien species. It was a massive deal, one that had been kept under wraps for nearly 75 years. According to the document, the Zidonians agreed not to interfere with humanity's natural evolution, and in return, we offered them certain resources. The document also hinted at technology exchanges, medical advancement, and the breakthroughs humanity had experienced since the 1940s, which could not be fully explained by conventional science. But in the most shocking part of the treaty was that the expiration date was 1 year from today. The moment I read that, I felt a cold sweat break out. I reread the line, trying to digest it. Was this a hoax? Some kind of elaborate prank designed to lure in conspiracy nuts like me? But it didn't read like that. It was too formal, too precise. The signatures of world leaders, cryptic references to covert military operations, and even mentions of reassessment are all details that hit too close to events I'd seen mentioned in other obscure sources over the years. My mind raced, trying to reconcile the contents of the document with everything I knew about the world. I thought about Roswell, the countless UFO sightings, and the hushed whispers of government cover-ups. Was everything connected? And my father, could his disappearance be connected to this? There was no answer, but there was no time to waste. The document was too big. I had to act fast. I saved it, encrypted it, and stashed it in a place no one could easily find. There was no telling how long the file would stay hidden before someone else found it and destroyed it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the file on my computer screen, knowing that what I had in front of me could change the course of history or put me in the ground. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that this wasn't just another conspiracy theory. This was real, and the implication was staggering. Humanity had a secret agreement with aliens, a pact that was about to run out. What would happen when the Zidonians revealed themselves? Were they benevolent guardians, or had they been manipulating us from the shadows all along? The next morning, I began to dig deeper. The more I searched, the more I uncovered. There were subtle mentions of the Eternal Treaty in older military and government reports, references to treaties signed with alien entities, but always buried in classified files, always vague and hidden from public view. I started connecting the dots, and all the things I had read years ago in obscure corners of the internet began making sense. The UFO sightings from the 1940s and 50s, they weren't just random events. They were the beginning of something. The military was tracking extraterrestrial craft, and they were actively suppressing information. But what are the sudden advancements in technology over the past few decades? The document mentioned technological exchanges as part of the agreement, but what I couldn't find were answers. What would happen when the treaty expired? And the most important one, is humanity prepared for the unknown? I knew I needed help, but asking the wrong person could cost me everything. That's when I heard the rumor. Someone who knew someone, a former government official, had leaked a cryptic message online. It read, "The treaty is ending and we're not ready." I spent days trying to track down this source. I knew I was getting close when I received a message from an anonymous account. A simple sentence: "Meet me at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Do not bring anyone." I knew it was risky, but my curiosity to know the truth pushed me to ignore the risks. I'd always thought that meetings and spy thrillers were exaggerated. People whispering in dimly lit corners, secretive exchanges in shadowy alleyways, and dramatic pauses. But this was real, and it was happening to me. The diner was just as nondescript as it had been described. A rundown, barely open establishment with chipped walls and cracked booths. The bell above the door chimed as I entered, but there was no one inside except the cook, who glanced at me briefly before going back to stirring something in a greasy pot. My eyes darted around the room, searching for any sign of the person I was supposed to meet. I sat at a corner booth, keeping my back to the wall, trying to look casual, but the anticipation was killing me. This wasn't just some random contact. This was the person who was supposed to tell me everything. The person who could confirm whether what I had stumbled upon was real or just another wild conspiracy. I checked the time again. It was 3:05 p.m., but my contact was nowhere to be found. I was beginning to feel paranoid. Maybe I'd been set up, I thought. Maybe I was walking into a trap. I was about to leave when I saw him. The man was tall, dressed in a well-tailored gray suit that looked like it belonged to someone far wealthier than I was. His face was unremarkable, the kind that could blend into any crowd and escape attention. Yet his presence was undeniable. He wasn't someone you'd forget once you saw him. His eyes scanned the room methodically, as if he were looking for someone or making sure no one was following him. I held my breath as he made his way to my booth. No words. He slid into the seat across from me, his gaze flicking to the door one last time before locking onto me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. It was a strange silence, pregnant with tension. His eyes held mine with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. Then finally he spoke. "You're Carl, right?" I nodded, my throat tight. "Yeah." "You are?" "Doesn't matter who I am," he said, his voice low and steady. "What matters is that you understand what you're dealing with. The document you found, it's real." I leaned forward, my heart thumping in my chest. "The treaty." "Shut up," he said, his tone sharper now. His eyes darted around the room again. "Don't talk about it here. Not yet. You don't know who's listening." I swallowed, taken aback by his forcefulness. "Then what do you want from me? And how do you know it's real?" "I work for a division of the government that handles things that the public isn't ready to know about," he said as he slid an envelope across the table. I hesitated for a moment, but then I picked it up, noticing how pristine it was. It was sealed with a wax emblem that seemed almost ancient. It looked like a symbol of a government agency I couldn't place. "Open it," he ordered. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The text on it was minimal, but the map that accompanied the short instructions was clear. A red X marked a location in Nevada. It was a highly classified military area, one that I recognized from rumors that had circulated on conspiracy forums. It was Area 51, but this was something more. The note read, "The truth about the treaty is buried in a vault. You'll need help getting inside, but there are people who can assist you. Trust no one. Time is running out." I looked up at the man, confused. "What vault?" His eyes tightened, a shadow crossing his face. He glanced again at the door, then leaned in closer. "I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. That treaty wasn't just about keeping us safe from an alien invasion. That was a cover-up. It was about control." I felt my stomach churn. "Control?" He nodded. "The extraterrestrials weren't just negotiating with us for peace. They were giving us time to evolve, to grow technologically and socially. They've been watching us for 75 years, letting us advance on our own. But now they're done. The treaty is almost. The deadline is real and is fast approaching." I sat back, struggling to process his words. His implications were chilling. Everything I thought I knew about the treaty, the vague mention of peace, and the idea that they were here just to observe, all of it felt like a lie. The aliens are going to make a decision, Carl, he continued. The expiration of the treaty means they're either going to leave or take control. The powers that be are already preparing for either outcome, but the truth is that humanity isn't ready for either one. We've been too complacent, too ignorant. But why now, I asked. Why let the treaty expire? Why not just end it quietly? He leaned back, his face darkening. They've been testing us all these years, watching our progress. They've been waiting for us to reach a level where we can either be integrated into the greater galactic community or left to fend for ourselves. But we failed their test. You saw the document. Did you notice the language? Reassessment. It's not just a diplomatic term, it's a judgment. If they decide we're not worthy. He let the words hang in the air. My mind raced. The aliens had been testing us, and now the clock was ticking down to zero. I clenched the envelope in my hand. So what happens when the treaty expires? Will they come? Will they invade? That's the million-dollar question, he said, his voice tightening. We don't know. All I can tell you is that we're not prepared, not by a long shot. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. But if the government knows, why haven't they said anything? Why keep it a secret? I don't know, control perhaps, he replied grimly. But what I do know is that the people in charge have been preparing for the day the treaty would expire. They've been stockpiling resources, building bunkers, planning for every possible scenario. But they didn't want the public to know. They didn't want mass panic, so they've kept it quiet. He glanced at the door again. His voice dropped to a near whisper. The clock's running out, and they know something we don't. There are factions in the government who think the aliens won't leave. They think it's too late for that. They're planning for an eventual confrontation. Others believe they'll take control and impose a new world order. Either way, we're looking at a massive shift in how this planet is run. I felt a chill run through me. Are you saying we are going to war with them? His gaze sharpened, but there was no emotion in his eyes. I'm saying we're already at war. The question is, are we going to survive it? I felt like the floor was tilting beneath me. My hands started shaking. I had started on this path to find my father, but what I have uncovered is much deeper than finding my father. It involves the fate of the whole planet. Don't tell anyone about this meeting, he warned. The moment you do, you'll become a target, and I'm not sure I can protect you after this. He paused, looking down at me for a moment. I'll be in touch if I can, but for now, don't trust anyone. The treaty is ending, and the truth is buried in Nevada. If you want to know what happens next, that's your first stop. I nodded slowly, my mind spinning. As he turned to leave, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. I had thought I was just chasing another wild conspiracy, but this was real, and everything was about to change. I continued my search based on what the man in the diner I'd revealed, but the more I dug, the deeper I sank. And the deeper I sank, the more I realized how little I truly understood. At first, it seemed like a few isolated events, documents here, military reports there. But the more I connected the dots, the more I realized I wasn't just uncovering a conspiracy. I was staring down a multi-decade operation. The government's involvement wasn't just about hiding the truth about extraterrestrial life. It was far more insidious. I thought I was looking for answers about aliens, about the treaty, some kind of real explanation. But what I found was far worse. What I uncovered was the tip of an iceberg of manipulation. They'd been hiding alien contact, yes, but they had also been pulling strings, altering history, and shaping humanity's path in ways I couldn't begin to comprehend. I started seeing more references to something called the Directorate. It wasn't just a conspiracy theory or some made-up organization to explain the cover-up. No, it was real. The Directorate was formed immediately after World War II. They were a group of world leaders and military officers who banded together to maintain secrecy and oversee the ongoing alien-human relationship. But what they actually controlled was much darker. They had infiltrated the most powerful institutions on Earth. Everything from government, military, finance, and energy sectors. This group worked relentlessly to suppress any information that could disrupt the delicate balance of power. The information I'd uncovered was terrifying, and I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. The world deserved to know. But who would believe me? a conspiracy theorist who found a secret treaty on the dark web. I imagined the ridicule, the dismissive laughter. I needed proof, something to corroborate the document's authenticity. It was obvious what my next step would be. I needed to get to the vault in Area 51. The man in the diner had told me that the truth was in the vault. Over the next few days, things escalated. I reached out to the sources the man in the diner had mentioned, and I got some help. But I began to feel like I was being followed. I'd sometimes catch glimpses of black SUVs in my rearview mirror, and my phone would buzz with strange, untraceable calls. I didn't know if it was paranoia or if it was real, but I became more careful after that. The man's contact gave me some instructions on how to get to the facility. The vault in Nevada is the one hidden beneath layers of military security. I knew it was a long shot, but I had to see it for myself. I made some preparations and began my journey. The Nevada desert stretched out before me, a vast expanse of sand and scrub brush baking under the relentless sun. Ahead, nestled amongst the desolate hills, lay my destination, Area 51. The card that the diner source had given me had worked. A tense encounter at the heavily guarded gate, where armed guards scrutinized me with suspicion and scanned my vehicle with high-tech equipment, I was granted access. I was escorted by 2 armed personnel in an unmarked SUV, their faces grim, their eyes watchful. My escorts led me to a heavily fortified bunker, its entrance guarded by more armed personnel and biometric scanners. The air inside was cool and stale, with a faint metallic tang. I was led through a maze of corridors, past laboratories, control rooms, and storage facilities. The technology I glimpsed was mind-boggling, far beyond anything I had ever seen. Finally, we reached the vault. My escorts stepped aside, their expressions unreadable. One of them handed me a small device, a biometric scanner. "Place your hand on the scanner," he instructed, his voice devoid of emotion. "The vault will only open for you." I took a deep breath and placed my hand on the scanner. The device hummed, a green light flashed, and the vault door began to slide open with a heavy groan. The vault was massive, not just a small chamber, but a sprawling complex of rooms, all connected by a central hall. As I stepped through the heavy reinforced door, the first thing I saw was the glowing containment chambers along the walls. Each one housed what looked like artifacts, strange alien objects. They seemed to pulse with an energy I couldn't comprehend. But that wasn't what made my stomach drop. It was what was in the center of the room, a massive metallic sphere suspended in the middle of the chamber. It hummed with an eerie, low frequency, almost like a heartbeat. I had no idea what it was, only that it felt wrong. Everything in me screamed to leave, to get out of there, but I couldn't. I was already too far in. I approached the sphere cautiously, every step heavy with dread. As I neared it, I saw something written in a strange, angular script etched into its surface. I recognized it from the document I'd found. It was the treaty. I also found a series of encrypted files and physical records, meticulously preserved for decades. As I began sifting through them, my mind struggled to process what I was seeing. The truth wasn't just about a secret treaty, it was about the entire purpose of our existence. The sphere, I realized, wasn't just a technology, it was an artifact of their civilization, a gift, or perhaps a warning. This was the proof I was looking for. I left Area 51 with proof and evidence of the treaty, but I was lost. I had no idea what to do with this information. Who could I trust? The government? The directorate? The man in the diner who had given me the coordinates? I had no answers, only more questions. I knew that there was no one I could trust, but there was one thing I could do: tell the world. I'm a conspiracy theorist, and chances are no one will believe me. But I have taken a huge risk to tell you the truth that the government doesn't want you to know. 1 year from today, the eternal treaty will expire, and when it does, the world as we know it will change forever. Forget everything you have been told and listen to me. War is coming, and it's not a war between humans. It's a war between humanity and the Zidonians. Our government knows about it, and they have been keeping it from us. The elites among them have been preparing for that day, but they have not given the rest of us the chance to prepare. This is why I'm telling you this. Prepare yourself because the world is about to change. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you love the stories and want to be notified when the next video drops, click that subscribe button. From all of us at X-File Nexus, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Have any thoughts or questions? Drop them in the comments below. Also, please watch our previous and next video shown on the screen. Until next time.